Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. Well, it never ceases to amaze me all the crazy anti-vegan misinformation news stories out there that come up on a continual basis in the news. And this one is no exception. I saw this one in Business Insider, and there's a hair doctor, a trichologist, saying that the rise in veganism has caused an increase in the number of cases of hair loss. This hair doctor's name is Annabelle Kingsley, and she claims it's the inherent nutritional deficiencies of a vegan diet that's causing her to see more and more patients with hair loss problems. Specifically, Kingsley told Business Insider that she's seen more and more cases of hair loss at her clinic, particularly among young women. The reason for this, according to her, the rise in the fad diet, whatever that means, as well as the sharp increase in popularity of veganism and vegetarianism. Kingsley's claiming that vegan diets don't give the hair what it needs to be healthy, and particularly protein. She says she can completely understand her clients' reasons for being vegan or veggie, like no one calls himself veggie, but it's very difficult with those diets to combine the correct food groups to give the hair what it needs. Combined. It sounds like protein worries here. Yeah. For example, fish and eggs have all 8 essential amino acids, proteins, that you need, while on the other hand, these plant foods like a grain or legume would only have a few of those. If you only get one set from a source of protein, you need to get the rest from something else. Well, we've talked about on the show many times before about how protein combining and how plant foods don't have all 8 essential amino acids is a myth, and this has been known for decades.
All essential amino acids originate from plants and microbes, and all plant proteins have all essential amino acids. The only truly incomplete protein in the food supply is gelatin, which is missing the amino acid tryptophan.
But she says that vegans and vegetarians need to up their protein intake. Why is that? And look up the different components, all the essential amino acids of each protein to make sure you're getting all the amino acids. You know how time consuming and not practical that would be if you had to look up all the amino acids of all your meals? And she also recommends that you take a vegan-friendly protein supplement. Well, why is she assuming that vegans and vegetarians don't get enough protein?
As I covered previously, those eating plant-based diets average about twice the average requirement for protein.
Yet she somehow mistakenly believes that vegans don't get enough protein. Perhaps she thinks that plant-based protein is inferior.
The concept that plant protein was inferior to animal protein arose from studies performed on rodents more than a century ago.
All right, that's some pretty old science, and let's see once and for all where this notion of protein combining came from. Is this some kind of new recent scientific breakthrough?
About 40 years ago, the myth of protein combining came into vogue. Literally. The February 75 issue of Vogue magazine. The concept was that we needed to eat complementary proteins together, for example, rice and beans, to make up for their relative shortfalls. This fallacy was refuted decades ago. The myth that plant proteins are incomplete, that plant proteins aren't as good, that one has to combine proteins at meals, these have all been dismissed by the nutrition community as myths decades ago. But many in medicine evidently didn't get the memo.
And neither did hair doctor Annabelle Kingsley. She's offered no objective, rational, scientific evidence that vegans are in any way deficient in protein, and that's what's causing all this hair loss that she's been seeing lately.
Plant-based consumers do not need to be at all concerned about amino acid imbalances from the plant proteins that make up our usual diets.
So not only is our non-existent protein deficiency as vegans causing our hair loss, it's also some kind of iron deficiency. She says it's more difficult to absorb iron from plant-based sources, non-heme iron, compared to heme iron, which is found in red meat. She says iron is really, really important, particularly for women who are menstruating. And the iron in dark leafy greens like spinach and kale is actually very different for the body to absorb. You might only be getting about 3% of it.
It is commonly thought that those who eat plant-based diets may be more prone to iron deficiency, but it turns out they're no more likely to suffer from iron deficiency anemia than anybody else.
So just like with protein, vegan diets are not inherently deficient in iron. Again, you're just making that up. There's no scientific basis for that claim. Well, you did say that non-heme iron found in plants is not as readily absorbed and as good for you as heme iron found in red meat. Well, let's take a look at that.
The majority of total dietary iron comes mostly from plants.
So if you're eating meat, the majority of most Americans' iron intake comes from plants, non-heme iron. So it can't be all that bad for you. And in fact, science is showing that heme iron, the kind found in red meat from animals, is not particularly healthy for you.
If you just look at iron intake from meat, it's associated with significantly higher risk for heart disease. The intake of meat iron, but not plant iron, was associated with increased risk of stroke as well as diabetes. Higher animal iron intake significantly associated with greater risk of type 2 diabetes, but not total or plant iron.
So this sensationalistic, headline-grabbing claim of Dr. Kingsley that it's the rise of this scary nutrient-deficient vegan diet that's causing the rise in hair loss cases amongst her patients, well, that claim is completely bogus, as I've shown. That's pretty much every story I've been talking about this year that's trying to make veganism look unhealthy or bad in some way. They're just making stuff up. She's just pulling stuff out of her butt. She has absolutely no data to provide us to look at. She's just making stuff up. She has no science to provide us because, as I've shown, the science is the opposite of what she said. Vegan diets provide more than plentiful iron and protein in our diets. You're not going to be amino acid deficient. You don't have to do all this crazy protein combining like she claims. So I'm not denying that she's seeing a rise in hair loss cases amongst her patients. She probably is. But to just go out and say, oh, it's the vegan diet, and try to get all these, international tabloids to print your words there to scare people about vegan diets is absolutely irresponsible. You have nothing. You have no data. So anyway, I'm getting a little excited here because this really irks me. With the rise in veganism, you're seeing so much pushback from people who have absolutely no evidence whatsoever trying to make our diet seem inherently deficient or bad for the earth or what have you. So anyway, I should quit now before I keep ranting for another 3 or 4 minutes. So post your questions and comments down below. Tell me about your vegan hair experience. Have you watched all these other vegan YouTubers like me with big heads of hair? Particularly, all the ladies with tons of hair, like, Fully Raw Christina, Fully Raw, Ravana, Ellen Fisher, Bonnie Rebecca, just to name a few. And, there's dudes like me with plenty of long hair too. So, just anecdotally, her story doesn't hold any water as well. So let me know what you think down below. If you like this video, click the like button. Let me know you like these expose videos, which I really enjoy doing. Until next time, Dr. Kingsley, stop eating all those fish and eggs and keep it carved, baby. Keep it carved.